Welcome back to my channel. Today we are painting Vestrahorn in Iceland. The outline you can get from my book if you don't have it yet. Everything's linked in the description below. Now, if you have never seen a photo of Vestrahorn, go and Google it because it is just the most beautiful place in Iceland. And I had the privilege to travel Iceland with my husband in 2019, just before COVID, and it was just the best. I have so many good memories and so many amazing sights. So you can follow along with this one. I'm starting first just with a bit of water. And what do I have? Gum Arabic. So I'm doing this section with gum arabic first. I'm painting the area with gum arabic first because I do want to remove some of this. Now, if you haven't watched my video on masking fluid and gum arabic, go and watch that first so that you know how to use that. That's lesson 7 of my beginner series. So let's wait. So I've painted the areas I want to keep white with gum arabic. And now I am going in with sky and just going all around the mountain, the magnificent mountain, painting it with water. And then we're going to go in with Payne's Grey. We are using a lot of Payne's Grey for this one because when I was there, it was all cloudy and misty and lots of drama. So in the sky and in the clouds and everywhere. Just beautiful. So I'm just dropping in this Payne's Grey. I don't want it to be a flat wash. I do want it to be a bit textured. And I'm going to lift up some of this again. So you clean your brush and you lift up some areas you'd like to. And you can drop in some darker areas where you'd like to. And sort of just continue working it until you are satisfied. Let it run down a little bit if you'd like. So I want to make it a bit darker, as you can see. So still just with the Payne's Grey and just adding in some more color, spraying it with water and then dabbing it dry. Okay, I think I'm happy with my sky. Let it dry completely. And then let's go to the sand. Now, the sand is actually almost black. We are going to use a mixture of Payne's Grey and some warm sepia to create the sky, and for the ocean we are only using Payne's Grey. So very limited palette for this one. So first going in with that warm sepia. And then the Payne's Grey over this. You can mix these colors beforehand in your palette, but I like to have them mix on paper because I just feel like it gives a bit more variation in color. And then softer as I get to the beach where I'm going to have some white areas as well. So same as the beach we did in the previous one, the shipwreck. You want to sort of keep some white in your waves that's coming in. Okay, going in with Payne's Grey for my ocean, and I'm painting it. Would this be, so as you can see, I'm painting it down. I'm not painting it horizontal because I wanted to have some lines in it as well, and this is the way the water is going or the waves are crashing. So I want to have some lighter areas in my ocean, some darker areas, some white. And remember, this is where I put my gamma arabic, so it will be lighter there as well. Next, we're going to start on the mountain, and I'm actually turning around my image. I'm sorry for this part. I didn't realize that the camera had stopped recording. We're basically doing same thing here, warm sepia, Payne's Grey. So mixing them on the paper, so going in with the warm sepia first and adding in Payne's Grey in the areas where there are darker shadows. So I just turned my paper as my ocean part is wet at the moment so that I can put my hand on the sky part, which is already dry. So I'm sort of painting it little by little, adding in the warm sepia and then the Payne's Grey. And then moving on to the next part of the mountain, warm sepia. While that's wet, put in some Payne's Grey. I do want a really dark shadow over here, so that's why I'm sort of starting with the Payne's Grey to set out that shadow for me, and then just softening the colors and adding some warm sepia as I move towards the top. So I'm giving the other part of the mountain a bit of time to dry while I move on to this side, and then I'll just continue doing that, so that you're not smudging or having it all bleed into one big mess and flat wash. Now for this part, I can wet this whole area because the important part, if you look at the photo, is those two mountain peaks on the right and the one on the left that's a bit closer to you. And then you have this one long one, but with lots of shadows into it. So we're going to do lots of Payne's Grey, adding some shadows into this one as well. Start with warm sepia and move in with your Payne's Grey. I'm doing a tiny bit of green here at the bottom, sallow green, just to give the idea of some grass at the bottom. You won't really even see this in the end. It's just for a tiny bit of highlights over there, repeating sort of the green that we're going to do in the front as well. So do you see where I've put in my shadows here? I've put in some darker Payne's Grey areas, going over some of that green to have a dark at the bottom. And then we're just using a light wash of the warm sepia to fill in these areas in between. Okay, now that I've spent an enormous amount of time on my mountain and I'm happy with it, I'm going to go in with my sallow green and forest green and yellow ochre. So first sallow green, or you can even use the lemon yellow if you want to make it really nice and bright. And then I'm going in with my forest green and also a bit of yellow ochre. Now I have not removed my gum arabic just yet. As you can see, it's the the gum arabic is grasses, so it is long, those thin white lines sticking through the grasses at the moment. So I'm just going to continue working these grasses, and the gum arabic will, as I continue working, it will get washed off or removed as well. So you don't necessarily have to go and remove it, but you can, of course, go and remove it. Refer back to lesson 7 of the beginner series for how to remove gum arabic. Now I'm just adding some darker areas in here as well and drawing it nicely. And that's about it. So thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't done so. And I hope you've enjoyed this one.